It is the normalized volume indicator, traders. That's right. Volume. Get happy. Here we go. So we have taken a week off from Indicator Profile Series videos, but it was time well spent because now we have a very interesting volume indicator to bring to you for the very first time on this series. Now, there are many reasons, some of them I think are very obvious, to why this is the very first time, I guess, we've ever done a volume indicator, and you will not be seeing them too often in this Indicator Profile series. So I'll explain why. But first, if you're new, please enjoy this video, but after you're done, go to nononsenseforex.com, read the first page, and watch that video. If some of the things I say on here don't make any sense, that's okay. You're way too new. Go and start over. It will absolutely be time well spent. Now, why do we hardly ever do volume indicators on here? Why is this the first one we've ever done? For starters, you guys know how annoyed I get with you guys sometimes. Please don't beg for videos or video subjects in the comment section. That does not have any weight on the videos that we put out. I finally waited for it to stop. It finally did. And I was like, okay, Dan, let's find a good volume indicator. Years ago, I did this with the trailing stop video. People kept asking for it. As soon as they stopped, I finally did it. Some things never change. But let's also point out the obvious here. There's just less of them. Anybody that's gone out and put an algorithm together and searched for indicators to test knows there's a lot of confirmation indicators out there. There are a lot of baselines out there. There are far less volume and volatility indicators available for you. You might see a lot of confirmation indicators with volume or volatility factored into the code, but in the context of the no-nonsense Forex way of trading, finding a true volume or volatility indicator, period, is a lot more difficult than finding other types. So just on sheer numbers, you can expect a lot less of these to be shown here. But the next reason is a big one, and I want to speak to this. Me more than anything, especially somebody who did it by hand forever and still does it by hand. Going out and pioneering yourself and finding these things with almost no help, and then testing them and tweaking them and adding them into your algorithm, that takes a lot. It's almost, how I said people get really upset when I make fun of like RSI and stuff like that. These indicators are very personal to people because your algorithm is very personal to you. And it took a lot for you to go out and find these places that other people are too lazy to find these indicators that most people are too lazy to seek out, and put in the work and test them the way you did. So for you to do all that, and then Mr. Big YouTube Forex channel comes in and says, hey guys, check out this indicator, and that was your indicator that you went out and pioneered and found and tested. That can, depending on who you are, some people get excited. They're like, that's my indicator, that's so cool. Others are like, dude, what the hell? You know how long it took me to find this thing? And now you're just going to give it to everybody? It just happened with the Vortex indicator. Somebody's like, dude, could you stop doing these? It took me a long time to find this thing, and now you're just going to just barf it out to everybody. Now, look, I totally understand. It's not going to stop us from doing the Indicator Profile Series videos because the chances, with all the indicators out there, there's such a small chance that we're going to highlight one of yours. And understand, too, there's nobody out there that uses it probably on the settings that you have, or definitely doesn't use it within the context of all of the other pieces of the puzzle that you use. So this thing, no matter what, is still going to be very unique to you and very unique to your system and the way it's used. So even though I totally understand and empathize with this right here, the show must go on. But I do know that the volume indicator is probably the hardest one to find. So for me to just parade all of them out there all reckless and careless like that, it's not cool. I get it. But rest assured, you're not going to see many of these down the road. You will see some. But also, let's not forget this here. The testing that we do at the end of these videos is the part that a lot of people wait for. It's their favorite part. But volume indicators are really hard to test. I don't know if you've noticed or not, but if you're going to try to test one on their own, with nothing else on your screen, it's a huge waste of time. What are you doing? This is one of the last pieces of the puzzle you test. Oftentimes, it's the very last. You have an indicator put together with a couple confirmation indicators, baseline, ATR, and all that, and then you're just trying to add on a volume indicator to make it better, to enhance what you already have. And that is typically how most people test it. You almost never test a volume indicator up against a naked chart. So Dan at Stonehill Forex was still able to find a way to test this. To say it's far from perfect would be an understatement, but he found a way, and we'll talk about that once we get into the testing. But just know, you're not going to see a lot of these, and the above reasons are the reasons why. But rest assured, this will not be the last one you see. We will do more in the future. Now, on to the specs. This was made in 2006. So that's good. That fits right into the year range that we are looking for. This is, of course, a volume indicator. As far as subtype goes, I'm not going to label it. You could say it's volume, you could say it's volatility, but if you remember from the videos before, even those lines can get blurred pretty easily. So just to avoid stupid, petty, minutia arguments like we always get in these indicator profile videos down below, I'm just going to say none for this one. Now, should you use a volume indicator as an exit indicator? Absolutely not. As a matter of fact, as soon as you get your signal to go long or short, you should take your volume indicator off of the screen until the trade is closed out. And we'll talk about this a little more once we take a look at the indicator itself. And without further ado, let's go ahead and do that. So what you have are these bars here. Now, it has nothing to do with going from red to green or green to red. Nothing at all. What you will do with this is you will check and see, do I have a go signal with all of my other indicators that I use? My confirmation indicators, my baseline, the ATR, has price traveled too far beyond the baseline? You know how this goes, right? You're going to answer all of those questions first. And then if you get a yes to all of those questions and you have the green light to trade, all you will do is look down. If you're using this indicator, look down and see, is the very last printed bar green or is it red? If it's green, you are allowed to go. If it is red, you are not. Simple as that. And then, like I said before, you will then immediately take this off of your screen because it can screw with you. You're like, oh, the green just turned to red on the next bar. I must not have the volume I need for the... No. Absolute wrong approach. Volume and volatility indicators, once you actually start to use them, need to be as stupidly simple as possible. It's either a yes or a no, and then once it's a yes, get rid of it. Now, when it comes to the way Dan tested this, I have no idea what type of rules he followed. I do know that the blog post he did for this is super comprehensive and goes over a lot. So everybody should immediately go there after they watch this video, just for clarity's sake. But as we get into the testing, please understand, I feel like this is super obvious, but every week somebody freaks out over the way these things are tested. Traders, the testing results you see at the end of these videos, at the end of the day, don't really mean anything. The results you get from your own back testing and the way it performs within the confines of your system is all that matters. Dan just throws this into the strategy tester on MT4, and he posts the results that come out. Got it? Are you sure you got it this time? Good. Moving on. So, also know, especially if you haven't seen these in a while, you are going to get a few links below. One of them takes you to my automation blog and shows the strategy tester that I just talked about. And there's a video on there about how to test these yourself if you don't already know. Because like I said, that is the important part. The work that you put in, not the work that we put in. The indicator blog, which, like I said, super comprehensive this week, really deserves a look. There's even a neat little setting on this thing where you can add kind of blue tips to the end of the bars. I don't even know if it's useful or not, but it's just another something he added in there. So definitely take a look at that. And then a place where you can actually download this indicator. So how did we test this darn thing? Well, you absolutely don't need to do this, but we had to do something. Like I said, you can't just test it against a naked chart. So what Dan did is he took just a simple 20 SMA and just got his signals that way. How he actually got those signals, you would have to maybe go to the blog for that. But again, this week more than any other week, take these results with a grain of salt. But we really didn't want to do an indicator profile video without testing results. So without further ado, let's get into them. Euro USD. So you'll notice what he did here is he said, okay, just with the simple moving average alone as a baseline with nothing else attached to it, this is what it gave you. And that's good. Because if you ever remember doing science experiments in school, you always need a control. So that was good to add, but at the end of the day, I wouldn't pay too much attention to the yellow line. Now, the green is where he just uses the default settings and gets his signals that way. So I'm not sure if it crossed and closed over it, or if it was just simply above it, for example, and you're looking for a long. You look down, do you see green? You go. And then vice versa for shorts. But then there were also basic tweaks that he put in, and you can see definitely on the daily, actually made quite an improvement by only reducing the trades by 8. So that was pretty interesting. On the 4-hour, performed so poorly there was nothing he could do even with the tweaks. On to gold, where things always get interesting. You see here really, really good results on the 1 year and even on the 4-hour, which has really been the widowmaker on this series. With the tweaks and with the same amount of trades, went from -12 to +16. Quite interesting. Again, he did this, not me. Got to read the blog. And moving on to Bitcoin to wrap it all up. Again, very, very good if you trade the daily on Bitcoin. Who knows how it's going to do within the context of your system, but interesting, right? And then on the 4-hour, a bit less interesting, but an interesting change nonetheless. I think the most interesting thing is going from 1 trade to 18. I'm not sure how that happened. But again, really had to stretch this week to get some results over to you. And this is what we were able to come up with. So I hope you enjoyed our first volume indicator of the series. Sorry for the lecture that went with it, but it had to be said. We will be doing these almost every week because they have been very well received so far. So subscribe, hit the bell. Don't miss any of these. We still have more actual trading videos to come out. I got a podcast that comes out every weekend. It costs you nothing to subscribe and hit the bell. I will not flood you with a bunch of videos you don't want to see. So get on board, take this information and run with it, create an awesome system, trade the heck out of it, and go get it.